Hello folks, Jonathan Milam here with a Flugelhorn review. We have got a Jupiter 846R. I believe that stands for a rose brass bell under all of the beautiful silver plating. And I am impressed with this Flugelhorn. I really am. Flugels are not my favorite beast. I think they have severe intonation problems compared to a trumpet. But if you're looking for a French horn sound without lugging a big French horn around, this is as close as you'll get. Lovely little horn here. We'll give it a try. We're going to try and play the old Joshua Fit de Battle of Jericho. And we'll try and give it the best that we've got and let you see what this horn sounds like. Going to be playing this with a relatively shallow Curry piece. It is his 8.5 FLM, I believe, and that is for his medium. It is not an overly deep flugel piece. Of course, it's a lot deeper than your average trumpet. We'll give it a shot and see how it goes. Okay, that's where I like the Flugelhorn in the lower range. We're down to a low G there. You can't get a whole lot lower than that, unless you have a fourth valve, which they do on some flugels. But let me just show you a little bit more of the upper range. Above the staff, I don't find the flugel really meets its fullest potential. But you've got at least almost 2 octaves, even if you just are playing around with an F on the top of the staff. Counting that in your low C. Okay, we'll give you just an idea of the upper range. Really, I think a good sound on this horn, and like I say, a relatively shallow flugel mouthpiece. Okay, I'll say years ago, probably. Boy, I was thinking today, might have been 15 years ago. I dropped in Florida and saw a guy about a little Flugelhorn. It was lacquer, wasn't silver plated, and I was not impressed. But this horn, and I believe there are 2 newer generations, maybe 3 newer generations of Flugelhorn than this. But anyway, this actually reminds me immensely of the Yamaha 731, 631, I believe they are, standard horns. I think that's what Chuck Mangione played Feel So Good on. Really, when I first saw this horn, met the guy that was selling it in Springfield, Missouri. Thank you very much, Jared. It's been a delight. I looked at it and thought, wow, and I said, I probably patterned after the Yamaha Flugelhorn, and he figured it probably was as well. The valves look very similar. Of course, you know, what are you going to do? You got to get a valve down in the valve cylinder somewhere. But like the intonation on this horn pretty well. Got a nice trigger. I would not try a Flugelhorn without a trigger. In fact, I did have one many years ago, well over 30 years ago, because I've been married for 32 and it was before that. Did not have a tuning slide, and just pull it out and lip it. One thing that's also, I believe, with the deeper cup mouthpiece, it is easier to alter your intonation, which is good and bad. I think you can go flat or sharp a little more easily than you can with a shallower mouthpiece. And with a lot of flugelhorns that the intonation is very bad on, I've always felt that a shallow cupped flugel mouthpiece will help the intonation. Of course, you lose your huge sound, but nonetheless. Okay, what else can we do besides, well, let me show you one thing. I've got a trumpet here, and we'll use just a regular 42C mouthpiece, a Reeves 42C. But I'll play just a moment on the flugel, then we'll play the trumpet so you can see the obvious difference. Great song, Exodus. Isn't that pretty? Pretty sound. I played French horn when I started off in middle school, and this does put me in mind of that. Okay, the obvious difference between the flugelhorn and the trumpet is the bell. The flugelhorn bell, this is 6 inches, and the trumpet bell is about 4 3/4. This is my trustworthy old Binge. Oh, I keep forgetting to tell you, there's a lovely little patch here. Well-beat horn, great player. Okay, so you've got the flugelhorn with a 6-inch bell and the trumpet with about 4 3/4. But that's not the only difference. Notice also just how much thicker the bell is, how much more volume it carries from its main crook on down. And as I was looking at the flugelhorn today, really, and it's wrapped the reverse of a trumpet. Sorry to keep throwing it around. This is a .433 bore, same as the Yamaha hi-hat. Does not appear to be any difference as it goes through the valve block and comes out. But when you get into the first main crook here, that's where it begins getting larger and considerably larger. Once you pass the third valve, then we're really getting good sized. And the bell side, just so much larger than a trumpet for probably at least 9 or 10 inches. So, and I do hope it conveys, I've always wondered, the spread of the flugelhorn. It's just such a more diffused sound as opposed to the trumpet, which in comparison to the flugelhorn really seems to be tailored in so much more. Okay, as I mentioned, this is a Curry. I use an 8.5. It's very close to the rim of a traditional box 7C. But anyway, this is his Curry medium. And thought we'd run through some mouthpieces here, and we'll just call them out. This is a Reeves, and quite a shallow Reeves piece. Really, I do like this. About a 23-inch throat, I believe, and the Curry that I'm using is, I believe, about a 22. So this is the Reeves piece. then we will go on to, what is this? Oh, this is a Benge 5C Flugelhorn mouthpiece. Fairly deep, and most of the rest of these, they have throats that are larger than 20, and so I lose my ability to measure there. Pretty deep piece here by Benge the 5C. And we've got here a piece that's a little tough for me to play. I don't play this size anymore. It's a Marcinowitz, and it is the FLD. FLD. I think it's a 7 FLD. Hard to play on a cold mouthpiece. Okay, years ago, I actually had a Benge Flugelhorn, the dreaded 5 bell, which is known for its horrible intonation. And I actually thought this was the mouthpiece that helped me do much better. Got a fairly big throat. Again, I think it's at least a 20 because my tool isn't helping me out. But it's quite a bit shallower than some. This is a Super Chops 4. And with that Benge 5, I really felt this gave me much better control of the intonation. The 5 bell on the Benge Flugelhorns was very big. I think it was the creation of Zig Canstel. And he did admit to someone, I love the sound, but I hated the intonation. Okay, and this is the Super Chops 4. Okay, and what do we have here? We have got Jupiter's own mouthpiece, and this one they label as a 7C, which actually it's a pretty impressive mouthpiece. Quite deep, and I think the throat is probably 21, 20, something like that. Not a bad piece at all. I prefer staying with something that I'm used to, so it's just fits my lip right, and Curry's 8.5 is much closer than the Reeves 41 rim that I usually play, but this is an impressive little piece. This is the Jupiter 7C mouthpiece. Okay, and the last one we're going to play is the largest one we've got. And it is just a Curry 8.5. I think he just calls it the FL. It's not the medium, so it is the FL. Just a full size. And quite a deep cup. And quite a large throat as well. We'll have to take a deep breath when we try this one. All right, I was listening to a trumpeter a few weeks ago, and he said he had played with Wynton Marsalis, and he said the most important thing he learned from Wynton was when Wynton told him, if you cannot play Brahms' Lullaby in the room of a sleeping child and let it continue resting, you haven't learned to play the trumpet right. And since then, I've been working on playing the instrument a little bit softer. I'm a bit of a hack on my cutoffs and stuff, but always trying to clean up the mess just a little bit. At any rate, we have here the very nice Jupiter 846R. You can still find a few of them around. Won't break the bank as far as flugels go. Probably a good price for a good used one would be, I would think, anywhere between $600 and $900 maybe. But frankly, I'm the frugal flugel buyer, so I'm certainly not going to give a whole lot more for than that. The new iterations that Jupiter has out, I believe, are smaller bore. They went from a 433, which this has, 0.433, down to a 0.413, which is more the classic, very small bore style. Then you get a huge mouthpiece to offset the smaller bore. I kind of wonder sometimes how that works. But at any rate, hope you've enjoyed this. Tomorrow I was going to try and bring out some really nice deep mouthpieces for the trumpet. Get a trumpet flugel mouthpiece and see just how close we could come to touching the flugel in sound quality. And to have a little comparison of the trumpet or the flugel. Not sure if we'll be able to pull that off, but at any rate, I've enjoyed the opportunity to share the 846R by Jupiter with you. Hope you've enjoyed it as well. For those of you that are still in lockdown with the dreaded COVID virus, best wishes to you. Best wishes to you. I'm sure that can be an extreme drain. In fact, it's sad the number of suicides that I've heard about, drug abuse, alcoholism, rampant divorce. Being locked inside is just something we're not used to. If that is your instance, I certainly hope that this little YouTube vid has brought you a moment of respite, an opportunity to think of something else. As always, it's a pleasure to be in touch with you. If you have a comment to add about the mouthpieces that you like for the flugel, flugels that you like, this is the place to put it downright in the comments, right under the like button, which all of you need to hit, the like button. And the subscribe button, if you like to follow along. Best wishes to you. Thanks for tuning in. We'll catch you next time.